But, Pete Koury, I wanted to give a little bit of credit right now to AC Milan and the boys that were able to make it happen. Zlatan Ibrahimovic wasn't able to see the field a whole lot during the end of the season, but his compatriots, Robinho and the gang, really stepped up, and they were able to make it happen, although they won the scudetto with a somewhat lackluster 0-0 draw against Roma. A few words about the accomplishments of AC Milan this season.
I think they did a great job. I mean, they went out and they obviously clearly bought this championship. Just going to throw that out there. Making big money splashes, buying Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Robinho.
Loans, paying their absurd wage bills and taking them off the books of places where they were no longer wanted.
Loved the Cassano move, the Van Bommel move, Kevin Prince Boateng.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought in a lot of new faces, and they meshed well together pretty quickly. It also didn't hurt that Inter got off to such a porous start.
Yep.
I think if Inter is managed by a different manager at the beginning of the season, if Rafa Benitez is not there...
Rafa Benitez in his South Park socks.
Oh, God.
Getting drummed out of Milan like the unstylish Liverpudlian that they view him as.
Well, in all seriousness, if he's not there at the beginning of the season and Inter gets off to the start everybody predicted they would have coming off a treble-winning season, I think this is a closer race. I mean, for Inter to have, I believe, 62 or 63 points at this juncture is embarrassing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that their talent and I think their overall cohesion, I mean, what Mourinho left them was almost exactly the same as it was last year. This should not be the position that Inter is in. Now they have a chance to win the Coppa Italia, but second place, third place, that's the best they're going to get. That all being said, AC Milan did deserve to win this year. They were the best team in the league. Seemed like a little bit of a down year for Italy. A lot of parity to say hit the Italian peninsula this season. You had teams like Napoli and Udinese coming up. You had teams
even Lazio.
Like Lazio
had
as
a very
well.
good season.
Teams like Roma and Juventus, who have traditionally been big powers in this league, not having the best of seasons. But you had like, I think there was 8 teams that had at least 57 points. So you had a bunch of teams who played pretty well, but not great. I don't know what this means for the league long term. We'll see if guys like Ibrahimovic and Robinho stay after completing loan moves. We see that happen very often. And we'll see what Inter does in the transfer window. We'll see Juventus does, because Juventus is not used to being mediocre.
No, they won't accept it, and they're moving into a new stadium also, so they'd be well advised to splash some cash now.
Ever since they got back to the Coppa, the Serie A.
Yeah.
I got a little confused there. Yeah. Ever since they got back to the Serie A, they've been mediocre. They made the Champions League one year. They made Europa League last year, but I mean, they have not been impressive. And this is not ingrained in Juventus's lore. They're a better team than this.
They are the most successful club in Italian football history. Let's not forget that. But after the Calciopoli scandal, many players left, including Zlatan Ibrahimovic, including Patrick Vieira. I mean, many players had to took their leave. I think Pavel Nedved was one of the only kind of stout, and David Trezeguet, they stuck around, and of course Gianluigi Buffon. So they still retain some of their stars, but you're right, they have not been the same Juventus since they came back.
And you got to think they're going to make some big moves this year.
I think
all the Italian teams are going to start throwing some money out and try and get some of these big name players, because you have Real Madrid and Barca, and then all of England are hoarding all the superstars.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you, though, it's been really fun to watch Napoli. Napoli has been the big upstart, the big kind of asterisk star that you want
tough word.
It is, that you want to put next to a team in Serie A. I mean, Edinson Cavani, what a season this guy has had, playing alongside Marek Hamšík and Ezekiel Lavezzi. They're such a fun team to watch. I'd like to see them splash a little cash in the summer as well and bolster their lineup to really, really try and push, because they're playing Champions League football next year. I mean, that's going to be great to see Napoli in the Champions League against the world's greatest, and they could really use a couple more additions to really compete on that level. Switching quickly, unless you want to have one more word about Italy.
No, I was agreeing with you. It's nice to see Napoli back up to the top of the table. I mean, they fell down to the Serie B for a couple years. I mean, they were not the team that Diego Maradona left years ago. This team was one of the class of the Italian league, and it's nice to see them back up there. Udinese was a nice surprise, although I see Alex Sanchez moving in the offseason. Palermo has some good young players. I know they did didn't finish at the top, but Javier Pastore has been a great find. He could be the next guy heading over to a big team like a Barcelona or a Manchester United. So that there have been some starlets that have been discovered. There have been some really good stories in the Italian league this year. It's just unfortunate that the end of the season kind of petered out the way it did, where nobody made a real run at AC Milan,
right?
And AC Milan didn't set the world on fire by playing great football. So it could
have been different.
It petered out.
Remember, AC Milan beat Inter very late in the season, 3-0, and they scored a goal via Pato in the first minute of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So in that first 60 seconds, the season was basically decided right there because they kind of took Inter's legs out. It was
Chiavu's red card that really ended it all for Inter, but.
And a poor year.
We're splitting hairs.
Honestly, a poor year for the Italian teams in the Champions League as well. And
they got whooped up on, Danny.
And as you have noted, they will not have a fourth slot to get into Champions League qualifying come, I believe it'll be next year. It's going to go to Germany.
It'll be 2012, 2013, or 2011, 2012.
Well, maybe it'll be 2 years from now. But it portends.
It's a big deal.
It portends poorly for Italian football. Switching over to Spanish football, we have to give many congratulations and plaudits to FC Barcelona. What a year these guys had. They basically went end to end, only losing a couple of games. I believe they only lost 2 games. I mean, I can think of the first game of the year against Hercules, and then they lost a game leading up to the second leg of their Champions League win over Real Madrid. And I saw some reports, of course, Barcelona fans notorious for their hard partying ways. It's a really fun city. If you haven't been there, highly recommend it. And of course, after their beloved FC Barcelona takes down the title, there's going to be massive parties, as there were. And even more so because the victory was made much, much sweeter by beating Jose Mourinho, their arch nemesis, who famously ran around the pitch in celebration after beating Barcelona with Internazionale last season. That could not taste any sweeter for Pep Guardiola and fans of Barcelona.
So Pep and Barca have won 3 in a row. Very impressive. It's just the way they've done it. As well as they've played. Such a great team to watch. They're so smooth out there, like a well-oiled machine. Do you give more credit to Pep for putting all the pieces and parts together, or do you give more credit to the players? I mean, do you think this is just a team that, do you think this is a Cadillac that is driven by a Jimmy Johnson type driver, or do you think this is a
nice NASCAR reference? I get where you're going.
You love NASCAR.
Okay, yeah.
Or is this a Porsche 911 that could be driven by anybody?
By a schmo like myself. Well, I think you really have to give credit to the entire organization. I don't want to take anything away from Pep Guardiola because it's important for him to kind of keep his players in the right mindset, select the right lineup, select the right players, find a way to bring in, let's say, Ibrahim Afellay to come up with absolutely key contributions at just the right times, just like, by the way, he did with Pedro Rodriguez last season. When people were just discovering who Pedro was, and he scored I think he scored 17 goals or something for them last year. A brilliant haul, and you have to give credit for Pep Guardiola for knowing when these players will be ready and knowing when they'll be most effective. But the real credit has to go to the entire organization of Barcelona, and probably I give the most credit of all to their youth development, La Masia. And this is a youth development program.
None better.
They are revered around the world, and for good reason. When you look at the guys who have come up together through La Masia, like Busquets, like Messi, like Xavi, like Iniesta, they don't have to spend incredible amounts of money on transfer fees to get these players because they train them in-house, they bring them along, they have exactly the same style of play for the 8-year-olds, and even younger, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, as they do in the senior team. So these guys know how to play and how they're be expected to play from the time that they are young children. They are bred to be the champions that they've turned out to be.
Do you think other organizations are taking notes here? Barcelona has dominated the landscape of international club football for the past 3 or 4 years.
Right.
They've done it from the ground up. You're right, they rarely go out and make big buys. What they do is they make smart, economical buys. A Maxwell here, a Mascherano there. Mascherano might have been a big splash, I guess you could count that. But an Afellay here. Adriano
He's been a great
over there.
performer this year.
They go out and they spend their money wisely, and you're right, instead of paying that 50 million euros for Fernando Torres, they can turn around and give that to their players.
They spent a lot of money on David Villa, but that was a great signing because they swapped swapped out Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a very high-dollar player with a huge wage packet. They bring in David Villa, who works much better for that system, and he clearly is enjoying his football and loving the time. His teammates seem to really appreciate him. There's a lot of good movement up front. And what can I say? I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They win La Liga. They take it down over Real Madrid. Real Madrid has a lot of work to do if they're going to try and best Barcelona, and they have to be happy with that Copa del Rey final because they were able to get one over on their more illustrious neighbors. Well, more illustrious in the very recent past. Real Madrid still, of course, a giant of the sport.
Real quick on Madrid, do you see Kaká on this team next year?
Absolutely not.
Where's he go?
I think he's going to go back to AC Milan. I think the door has been opened by Galliani.
He loves it there.
He loves it there.
Yep.
They love him. It kind of reminds me of the situation with Andrei Shevchenko. You know, a guy who was perfect for Italy, perfect for AC Milan. They let him go for a lot of money. And, you know, perhaps it would have been a better move for the player specifically, not necessarily for the team because, you know, it makes a lot of money and this is a business. But for the player, maybe that big move wasn't the smartest idea. But big congratulations have to go out to Barcelona. It's a team that you know well that I love. I mean, it's a great team to watch. It's really like poetry in motion to watch Barcelona. And, of course, Pete Koury, they have a massive, massive game, the Champions League final coming up at the end of this month in none other than Wembley Stadium in London against Manchester United.